不用，没问题。应该没问题。已经差不多对，不会有是吧？这么多血，so 恐怖。So good. It's before it gets more hot.
As well as water. They look like water features.
Oh, it's already done here. What can I help?
You could just take this off for now. That's what Jack said. And you don't, this is good unfitted.
Just stay here?
Yeah. Okay. Bye-bye, guys. Bye-bye. Alright, so we just finished eating, so one meal of the day pretty much. I was in the Burger King this morning, and we ran into some friends of ours that decided to surprise us by meeting us here. They actually flew to this airport from our city. It was very emotional. I'm gonna get choked up talking about it, so I'll stop it there, but it was awesome. So it was very smooth today. Now we just got to get on to that plane, get our stuff checked in, and it's going to be pretty soon that we get to do that. So hopefully it all goes smoothly. You'll be okay. Hey, it's okay. It's okay. You'll be okay. Let's close you up. All right, let's close you up. How are you feeling?
I don't know.
It's hard to say. It's hard to say goodbye to old friends.
Of course, especially when Jubin was touching Coco.
Yeah, that was so sad. This suitcase and this box, this bag, and then this suitcase and this box. This is all that we own right now. This is all of our belongings from 11 years of living here. We got rid of so much stuff. And as a result of it, some of it looks really thrown together. And we have some things for sentimental reasons or some things for the cats, and so it just looks really odd. Like we have these 2 blankets here. You see these 2 blankets? And they're all like kind of ratty and stuff, but the cats love them and they've had them since they were babies, and we think it'll make it easier on the plane if they can smell that towel smell. So anyway, it's we look like homeless people immigrating to another country. But that's how it goes. So up until this point, the trip, or this day of the trip anyway, had been pretty smooth. We'd gotten into Shanghai without any big issues. We were really worried that the borders would somehow be closed or the highways wouldn't take us. And of course there was that that brief moment of anxiety where the worker was looking at the dog and we were thinking, oh no, there's going to be some paperwork we didn't fill out and we can't get animals into the city. But that all went smoothly. The airport was a little strange when we first brought the pets in. It was very clear that they were not used to seeing pets. It seemed like at all, like they had no procedure in place for it. They had to look a bunch of stuff up to be able to accept the animals just to get into the airport doors. But all that went well. And of course our friends were there, which was just a wonderful, little boost for us, even though it was very emotional saying goodbye to everyone at the end. And then we got into the line to actually check our bags in, and this is where things started getting really hairy. So Because of the pandemic, the United States is not letting any foreign passport holders into the U.S. unless either they have some sort of resident status, like a green card, or they have immediate family that lives in the country. So for us, Moa fits the second category because we're married. So in preparation for this, we got our marriage documents. We got them translated into English since we got married in Korea. We had all that paperwork done. We had it ready, and we had what is called an ESTA application, or a visa waiver application for her that was filled out last year when we visited friends and family in Hawaii. So we had all that paperwork, so we were pretty confident there wouldn't be any issues. Despite that, we had to stand in a very long line just to get to the counter. So they were screening people, dividing them into two different lines. One is the American passport holder line, and the other one was the non-passport holder line, and they had to go through our documents one by one. So we were able to get through that and finally get to the counter. Now, when we got to the counter, we realized that our friends that had been bringing the dog in, our friends were still at the check-in counter, which is odd because we'd been in line for about an hour, and here they were still at the check-in counter. They had been there for about 45 minutes or maybe an hour at that point. And so I started getting pretty anxious for them, and I went over and asked my friend, hey, what's going on? And they said they won't let our dog on the plane. And the reason was they had sold too many animal slots on this plane. So we're not clear is if it's the airlines itself or if it's this particular airport, but they only allowed 4 pets on the plane. And there were already 5 pets registered, and their dog, Jack, was the 5th pet. So they said the dog cannot get on the plane. Now, of course, my friends are not going to leave their dog behind. We had done so much to get the dog on the flight, and our cats as well. We had sacrificed a lot, and we needed these animals to get out. It was too much, I think, emotional stress to part with animals. We parted with a lot of belongings, but we didn't want to leave our animals, which, are kind of like our kids. So they started, getting pretty anxious about this. So they were trying to figure out, is there any way we can get around this rule? Is there any exceptions that can be made? Is there some sort of fee we have to pay? And the thing is that my friends had already registered the animal on this plane. They had already done all the paperwork. They had gotten the certification. They had gotten the confirmation number. And still the airlines was saying, no, you can't do it. So they were really, really worried. And basically what the airlines told them is that if someone else cancels, if someone else who has a pet doesn't show up, then your dog can get on. Otherwise, you're stuck. And this was a big problem because our visas are all about to expire because we have temporary visas, and all of the pet paperwork is about to expire. It only is good for 10 days. So if we miss this flight and we have to get on the next flight, then a lot of that paperwork is going to be invalid. So it's a nightmare. And of course, trying to find a hotel and all that, it would just be a huge, huge problem. So they're in line trying to figure this out. And then we get to the check-in counter to find out that our paperwork is expired. So apparently, without informing us, the US government canceled all these visa waiver programs. Now, I had checked it, and it seemed valid when we left, but apparently whatever kink in the system there was not showing the fact that, in fact, my wife didn't have a valid visa waiver. So the man behind the counter tells me, quick, hurry up, fill one out online, maybe it'll come through in time. So immediately I get my computer out, I jump onto the airport Wi-Fi, which is very unstable, and I'm trying to fill out all the information for my wife, including her parents' names and a date of birth and their ID numbers in Korea and a permanent address in Korea, and all these things. We're having to call them. They're in Korea at the moment. They're not picking up their phone. It's just getting extremely stressful. So we're doing this. My friends over next to us are trying to figure out what's going on, and basically we come to the realization that it's going to be either one or the other of us getting on this plane. If Moa and I can't get on the plane with our cats, then they're fine. They can get on. And if we can get on, then they're going to have to stay behind, which is a really awful realization because we've been in this together this whole time. For years we've been in China together, but now we've been in this ordeal, and having to sacrifice one of us for the other to go it's just like heart-wrenching. It's a really heart-wrenching situation. But of course, it's not in our control at this point. Now, as I'm filling out the paperwork, I realize that the application time or the average time of processing an application is 72 hours. That's at the bottom of the form. And at that point, I kind of realized, like, all right, we're going to miss this flight. There's nothing we can do. I'm trying to think about all the things that will mean for us, but I'm kind of trying to make peace with this realization. Now, As this is happening, there are people around us that are fighting the workers. There's a woman that's screaming almost at the top of her lungs. There are babies that are crying around us. Obviously, our cats are extremely agitated. They're crying. Our friend's dog is yelping. There are people that can't get on the flight. They've been turned away at the gate. There's an American man has been trying to get on a flight. It seems like for hours, and his flight has been canceled, and now he's stuck. Everywhere around us is just chaos, and so we're thinking to ourselves, the chances of this working out are pretty slim. However, we're there at the check-in counter, and we're getting to the very cutoff line of getting through the check-in because our flight is at 9:40. And it's about 8:20 at this point. So we're calculating, okay, 8:40. If we get through at 8:40, we have enough time to go through security because we still have to do that, and then get to our gate and then board. So we're really coming down to the line. And it's about 8:25, maybe 8:30, when suddenly the man behind the counter refreshes his screen and tells me, your wife is good to go. We got the paperwork. Somehow it went through. He received a notification. Now, as that happens, I'm extremely relieved, but of course it means that my friends are not going to be able to get on the flight because we just took up the 2 pet slots. However, I look over at my friend and there's a smile on his face and he gives me a thumbs up, and I go over and ask what happened, and it just so happens that someone else on this plane who had 2 pets is not able to come. Either they canceled, we're not sure exactly if they canceled and they didn't show up, or if they just ended up taking 1 pet because they had registered 2 pets, and you're not supposed to do that. So at the very last moment, at the exact same moment, it works out for us and for them. So very quickly now we have to get our pets paperwork all registered. We got to get tags on their carriers. We have to take pictures of the pets. There's a lot of things that are involved with that, and then we have to get all of our boxes, our suitcases onto the plane. There's a problem with one of the suitcases that has something that looks like a battery, so I have to go back into security and pull it out. And then we run through security with our pets in our arms. They scan us, they scan the pets, they x-ray all our bags, and then we run through security. We get to the plane, the boarding gate, and our plane is probably the only plane that's boarding at this hour. And there's a long line of people. We go right through and we're on the plane. So it was incredible how down to the wire this whole situation got. Of course, we're frazzled, but at the same time we're relieved because we're finally on this flight. I post this picture to Instagram telling everyone, and many people who've been following our travel up to this point, that we are on the flight and all is okay. But in fact, all is not okay. You'll have to stay tuned for the final chapter in this saga to hear what happens once we get off the ground.